Next, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, sorry, Aaron, I didn't. Oh, okay. Okay, welcome, Tri-Valley. A lot of things going on here. Let's see. Okay, we have a couple speakers. And I'm going to read the conduct for the speaking. Thanks for coming this evening. I'd like to read portions of Board Policy 1230, Public Participation at Board Meetings. The Board of Education encourages public participation on school-related matters at board meetings. As outlined in this policy, to allow for public participation, a period not to exceed 30 minutes shall be set aside for the first part of each board meeting for public comment, with priority given to comments on the items on the meeting's agenda. The second 30-minute time period will be set aside at the end of each board meeting for public comment on matters pertaining to the district, but not on the agenda. These periods may be extended by majority vote of the board. Persons wishing to address the board shall advise the board president prior to the scheduled starting time. We already did that. Skip some of this. Presentation should be brief as possible. No speaker will be permitted to speak for longer than 5 minutes. The board will not permit in public session discussion involving individual district personnel or students. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Persons making presentations at board meetings will address remarks to the president and may direct questions or comments to board members or other district officials only upon the approval of the president. If you would like to address the board tonight, the forms are on the table by the door. Please complete them and give them to the district clerk, Ms. Pena. Also, as a reminder, guests to board meetings should please wear masks and observe all proper social distancing protocols. Looks like everybody is in compliance. Correspondence. There are no matters that are on the board meeting. This one is not circled, but the topic is not on the board agenda. So budget, Bob, budget status update.
Okay. Let's see if I can operate this thing. There we go. How you doing tonight? My name is Bob Whitaker, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Human Resources. I'm going to give you a brief, and it will be brief, budget update as to where we stand in this year's current budget. Aaron, which one? Not anywhere in order. Yeah? Theoretically. Sure. Before I start, I have to correct an omission that I made in my tax collector's report. And I thought about it as I was walking out that night. I had one omission. I forgot to thank Cindy Mickelson for assisting. I want to make sure I make that public because Cindy's retired, but in July and August when Angela was out, Cindy came in, and getting the tax warrant ready is 90% of the battle, so I was remiss in thanking her, so I wanted to make sure I did that publicly. Okay, expenditures and encumbrances. Basically, what that's saying is money that we've already spent and money that is spoken for. As of last week, the actual expenditures and encumbrances for the year equaled $32 million. That represents 91% of the approved budget for this fiscal year, plus the payables left over from last year. This number takes care of salaries, benefits, we've encumbered the money. So this is very common that most school districts have about 90% of their money spoken for and the year's not even half over. But it means we've either spent it or we've encumbered the money. Very common here. Revenues. Once again, revenues as of 12/10 are a little over $24 million, and this represents about almost 70% of our projected revenues for the year. Our projected revenues are scheduled to match our projected expenditures. 82.30% of that is tax collection. Once again, our taxpayers are very kind to us, pay most of their tax bills before the end of early November, and that represents taxes are almost 2/3 of our revenues for the year. So as we sit here in December, I can say that our cash flow, one of the greatest things about my job is I don't really worry about cash flow because our taxpayers come through and we rely heavily on them. The balance of the money that came in are from some New York State aid payments, which are usually smaller earlier in the year, plus some federal grant allocations, which are either startup money for this year's grants or final payments from last year's grants. What's some of the current info we know as today versus what I projected and thought I knew back in March? One of the big things, and it just came down the pike last week, is health insurance rates. We're insured through NYSHIP or Blue Cross and Blue Shield. The little screwy thing for us is that they changed their rates January 1st. So last March, I'm doing some speculating on what their rate increases might be. You can see the increases that we just got. Individual rates went up 11.28%, family rates to 12.70%. The past 2 years, these increases have been 2% or less. If you watch trends, and most business officials will watch trends, they always seem to go in basically the same direction, up or down. So this could indicate the start of an upward trend. I had budgeted a 15% increase, which is a little higher than normal, on a hunch. Strictly a hunch, but I had talked to many of my colleagues. The effects of COVID and the cost associated with it might surface. But we're also looking at, there's some expensive treatments that have taken place, and there was the return of elective surgeries. One of the reasons last year rates basically remained flat, there was no elective surgery. So it's all based on dollars spent. So we're well within my increase for this year, but it's a little tight. We might have to take a look as we listen to what we plan on for next year as we go budgeting. Current info that we know today versus what we were educated on guessing where we might be this year. Increases in special education costs. Any district or any person in my position, in consultation with their PPS director and everybody else that knows special needs, we know that at any given time, we have ins and outs that may create large increases in needs for dollars. Currently, we're at about 54% of the increases that we knew last March, which is really pretty decent because at 54%, that includes for the rest of the year. So I think we're well within that parameter. The social and emotional wellness of our students, staff, community. We have put a decent amount of money in there through our budgeting. I don't know how many people are aware, I think most people are, is that schools have been allocated a decent amount of money for what's called ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. The plain ESSER was last year. But we're using some of this money to address these needs. There are some additional staff that we're bringing in. There are additional programs we're bringing in. There are additional treatments, or not so much treatments, but ways that we can help children deal with what they're going through. So that's really what we're looking at some of that money for. It's federal allocated money. Mrs. Kelly and I, Dr. Silver, spent a lot of time talking about this money. And we're trying to target things that will make our kids relax, feel better, and our staff. We have some wellness programs for our staff that is also beneficial. So overall, our current year's budgets and revenues are at levels that are that were anticipated. Some of the additional expenses that we speculate have been anticipated, and we're right within the ballpark. We do review this monthly. As we return from the break, it's time for budget season to start talking about the 22-23 year, and you'll probably all be sick of seeing me for about 2.5 months. So that's where we stand right now. Do you have any questions concerning the status of this year's budget? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Aaron.
Now with the superintendent's report, we have Dr. Silver.
See if I can talk into the microphone. So we have a few things tonight. What I want to lead with is what we're going to change the school daily schedule after we come back from Christmas break. We're having some busing issues with BOCES and making sure the buses get back in time for our dismissal. And they're recommending that we move the schedule somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. We're working on that, and we'll let everybody know via letter and school messenger as soon as we're ready, but parents should anticipate the whole schedule moving 20 minutes. So the start time now, for example, buses arrive at 7:40, 7:50. We're anticipating the buses will arrive at 8:10, so everyone can sleep 20 minutes later, is really what it boils down to. So that's a change that we'll do that will benefit our BOCES CTE kids, because they won't have to leave class early to get back here. And it will make Rolling V happy, because they're concerned with bad weather about how long the trip takes to get back here, and we're holding up our regular dismissal time. So that'll be it feels like a big shift, but I think it'll be a very minor shift, just make everything else 20 minutes later. The second thing I wanted to talk about was we're going to have construction crews in here all through Christmas break. There's a long list of things that we believe will get accomplished and we hope will get accomplished. So the chemistry labs and the bio labs upstairs, finishing the backsplashes, painting, rubber-based cove moldings, missing cabinets, the water heater. Those rooms will be completely done. The vestibule out here, there'll be several things that will be done. The ceiling will be insulated, and all the wiring and everything put in that's needed, and the heaters. And then with the little booth that's out here, the spandrel glass should be in, and all of that will get replaced, and new lock sets. So we should be almost done. The part that won't be done is the part of the curtain wall where the doors are right now, because the doors aren't in yet. So everything around them should be done, but that'll be finished later. The elementary school kitchen, the security door, the coiling door that goes down the front, that'll get finished off. And also touch-up paint. There's some plumbing that has to get moved to make room for the coiling door, and some other minor things. Then that'll be completely done. The elementary school office, there's still a few odds and ends that need touch-up paint. And the security window where Kathy sits, there's going to be a door, a sliding door also, a grate, just like at the kitchen. And then the elementary school cafeteria, the new lighting is supposed to be installed. So that'll get us pretty much done with phase one. And then what we expect is when we get back from break, we'll be ready to go out to bid for phase two, which is the bathrooms and the weight room, the cardio center, and the home ec room. So finishing the design work on that. Corey is finishing the estimate on that, and so hopefully we'll be good to go as soon as we get back. Aaron's got him up already. So we've been tracking COVID cases and student and staff absenteeism, just to look out for trends. Last week, we obviously put the elementary school on remote because of the number of kids and the number of staff members that were out sick or on quarantine. And so this is looking at almost a month's worth, I guess a month's worth of attendance going back to November 8th. The bars are the attendance day by day. The big empty holes are the weekends that are in there. But the elementary school, our attendance historically has been in the 94-95% range. Now we're running at about 85%. We think most of those kids are kids who are at home quarantined because that's the way the numbers seem to work best. At the secondary school, the trend lines didn't show up. Secondary school, you can see, Aaron, the next. So you can see the secondary school is much better. There was that big dip that we saw when we closed the elementary school, but now the attendance is almost back to where it had been, which is in the high 80s percentages. So the trends are looking good locally. I know everyone's concerned nationally with Omicron and the holidays and what that'll do. But right now I think we're in pretty good shape. The number of students out because of they're either have COVID or they're in quarantine. Our high was 76 students back on December 10th. Now we're down in the 60 range, and that'll get smaller this week as well as more kids come off quarantine and come back into the building. So all of that looks fairly positive, but we know that the best way to keep us all healthy is to mask up, to maintain socially distanced, and get vaccinated. On our webpage, on the homepage, there's a link to a survey. We're talking with Fallsburg and the Public Health Department about running a vaccination survey for the 5 to 11 age crowd locally, either somewhere here or in Fallsburg, but on this side of the county. And we need to have an idea about how many people would be interested in doing that. So public health can decide whether it's worth their while to come up here. So we're doing that jointly, and we hope to be able to offer that. So that's my COVID report. And the last thing I wanted to mention was this week we had stay puts and lockouts in the schools. And I understand there's been some confusion on the part of parents and the public about what that means. And then there are lockdowns, which are the third type of alert we have in the school. So I thought it was worthwhile just take a couple of minutes to review the differences between them and why we do what we do. Because inside the school, everybody knows what they mean and what they're supposed to do, both kids and adults. So stay put is really just kids stay where they are, in whatever classroom they're in. Adults can still move around the building. It's typically used for the minor things where you just don't want kids around. An ambulance is coming to provide medical care. There's been a fight in this hallway, you don't want other kids around. There's been a leak in a bathroom and you need to get that all cleaned up before kids are in the hallway. But it's a pretty low level and kids just stay in the classrooms where they are. Adults can go wherever they need to go and do whatever they need to do. A lockout means that we just don't let people from outside the building in. Inside the buildings, it's a normal day. Kids are changing classes, they're going to the bathroom, they're going to lunches. They just don't go outside the building. And no one outside the building can come inside the building. But other than that, it's a normal day. And from a kid's perspective, they may not be able to go outside for mask breaks, or they may not be able to go across the street for gym. But other than that, it runs just like a normal day. Lockdowns are obviously the most serious things. That's when there's a threat, an imminent threat to the building of one kind or another. And when it's a lockdown, everyone stays where they are. We rely on the police, we rely on other staff members to take care of what needs to get taken care of before everyone's released. But lockdowns are fairly rare. You may remember the first day of school. we had our alarm system ordered a lockdown, and no one was prepared for that. And that sent us scurrying a little bit, but that was when they were doing the repairs to the alarm system around the building, and someone just triggered something, and that's what happened. But lockdowns are pretty rare, except when we do drills. We have to do, I think, 3 lockdown drills a year, 4 lockdown drills a year. All the others, the kids practice, the teachers practice, and it's pretty normal for both stay put and lockout. Doesn't really affect the day very much at all. And so I hope that helps people understand a little bit when they hear the terminology, what's really going on inside the building.
And always check the school website for more information.
Yes.
And did you want to talk about why we are utilizing a robocall?
Sure. So we've had School Messenger for quite a number of years, and so people are used to hearing somebody's real voice on the phone. And in the last couple of years, we've had a number of foreign language speaking families move into the district who don't understand the robocalls in English. So when you make the call, if you type in the message and you get that horrible robotic voice, it's automatically translated for people who don't speak English into the language that's entered into school tool, what their native language is. So it's a much more effective way of getting everybody in the community. I understand the sound of those calls, because I get them too, is not the most pleasant in the universe. But there's no other way to make sure that all our families get the messages and hear the messages in a way that they can understand.
That's very important to know.
So
That's it.
that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Anyone have anything else? Oh, that's it. No?
Thank you.
Mr. Pulley, would you like to report on the secondary school at all?
We're very much looking forward to winter break. It was unfortunate we had to postpone the winter concert last evening, and that was primarily due to no heat in the theater. So we're looking to reschedule that the first week of January, come back break. Beyond that, I wish everyone a very happy and restful break.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to report other than, yes, I agree. Have a great, wonderful break. We're all ready for it.
I have nothing to report, just wishing everybody a happy holiday season and a happy new year.
Good evening, everyone. A couple of announcements from the elementary school. We'd like to thank all of our families and students who participated in the PTO fundraiser. The feedback that I've received from the PTO has been great. Our students did an excellent job in participating in the sales, and they are very grateful for everyone's help. And certainly those parents who came in to pick up those items, all of the items have been delved out, and the sale overall was a huge success. We have our final Spirit Week day tomorrow. Tomorrow is our comfy clothes day. The students have certainly enjoyed all of this week. I think their favorite day was Crazy Hair Day. We have some really adorable images of students with their different hats and hairstyles that will be going up on our website, so you can stay tuned for some of those. And I would like to give one huge thank you to the ES aides. Our support staff, while we were closed last week, did an excellent job in helping to support the secondary school and being able to help them continue their operation as usual. So I just wanted to thank them for their cooperation for going up there. We know that our elementary aides certainly are more familiar with working with the younger children, but they did a great job in working with the high school kids. So I wanted to thank them, and happy holiday season to everybody. Be safe.
Thank you to our administrative and staff team during these times. Appreciate it, everything that you do. Okay, moving along. Are there any items that the board wants pulled from tonight's agenda? Okay, tonight's consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Motion, Aaron, second, Keith. Please proceed the vote. That was unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have board committee reports. Do we have anything other than the policy committee that has met? The policy committee did a lot of work that they blew me off on, but it's fine. Okay, so, policy, let's see. I'm just trying to figure out which one I have to read. Okay, the first one that we have on tonight for first reading is, oh, wait a second. Public comment at board meetings. Norma, I have to read the whole thing? I don't,
No.
no? I couldn't hear you, what? Okay. Okay. Where's the resolution?
Joe,
What?
for this 12:30, which is first reading, so it's whether anyone has any questions
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
or any
on it?
discussion.
Or any discussion? No? No? So the second reading is board policy number 0101, gender neutral single occupancy bathrooms. Second reading and adoption. Do I have a motion to adopt that policy 0101? Motion, Keith. Second, Rose. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous. Next up, we have policy number 4000, student learning standards and instructional guidelines, second reading and adoption. Do I have a motion to vote? Motion, Aaron, second, Randy. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have policy 5420, student health services, second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Motion, Danielle. Second, Randy. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have policy number 5420-R, regulation, student health services. This is the second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Motion, Randy, second, Rose. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous, thank you. Next up, we have policy number 8110, school building safety. Second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Motion Aaron, second Keith. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous, thank you. Next up, we have policy number 8112, Health and Safety Committee. This is the second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Motion Rose, second Danielle. I'll look to my right this time. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous, thank you. Next up, we have policy 8220, Buildings and Grounds Maintenance and Inspection, second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Motion Brent, second Randy. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous, thank you. Next up, we have policy 8505, charging school meals and prohibition against shaming, second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Motion Randy, second Keith. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have policy number 8635E, Exhibit, Parents' Bill of Rights for Student Data Privacy and Security, second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Motion Keith, second Aaron. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have old business. Does anyone have any old business? No? Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment session for items that are not on tonight's agenda. We have two speakers. Did we get any more? No? Okay. Kat Payne? Is that correct? Can you go to the podium, please?
Hi. So this is my first time here, and as we know, a lot of parents were going to come tonight, but I think that would have caused a lot of chaos, so we just put it all together. We want to work with the school and to do our part to help you guys and for you to help us for our children. So we, some of the topics that the kids had and the parents had was the security, equality for everyone, for all the kids, the bullying and the communication seem to be the biggest issues. The concerns with security is that there's only one SRO when multiple public schools have at least one in each elementary, middle school, and high school. The kids expressed that, I guess there was a Tyler here that they really related to, and they felt safer with two sheriff departments here. As far as the bullying, I know that the principal had a meeting to have the kids understand, you know, everybody has rights and everything. I think some kids felt it being one side over another side. So we just want all the kids to feel important, not one side versus the other. They want groups too, you know, they want special events for them too. And we also have, we want zero tolerance for bullying. If who our children is a problem, we need to be notified immediately. Not, oh, you know, or the kids or the group of kids need to come together and they need to work it out and talk it out. Because whatever we're doing right now is just not working. My child was was the victim of the Instagram thing. I know this had nothing to do during school, but I did not know that. I don't know why he was on there, so clearly there was issues, maybe somewhere along the line. So as parents just want to know, if our kid's a problem, we need to be told immediately so that we can take care of it. Which goes into the whole communication too. We would like to be called immediately instead of receiving a letter through an email. Some people aren't able to check their email while they're at work, but they're able to check their phones. Also, there was a little concern about banning phones because a child took a video, but I don't feel that we should punish all the kids. Right now, the phones are a lifeline to their parents. If God forbid, they can't speak with the teachers, or they're scared, or they need to be picked up. Like, you know, sometimes they're pushed aside saying, you know, let's just go sit back down, we'll calm down and everything, but that doesn't make them feel safe. The bathrooms during the lockdown, you were speaking about it. Do they get to leave the room to use the bathroom and all that?
Yes.
Okay. And are they escorted, or they're just?
Whatever the normal protocol would be within the buildings, what would be in
Okay.
place.
All right. I guess tomorrow they're feeling that something may happen tomorrow, because kids are being bullied. What I gathered from all the parents and all the kids, I feel like some kids are being mean to survive the meaner kids. So also, seems like names that are more well-known in the school get priority over kids that aren't well-known, or if their parents aren't well-known, which makes them feel uncomfortable too. This is all coming from our kids and our parents, just so you know. The metal detectors, is that an option in the budget? Or the finance guy, they were looking at that just because of the incident what happened recently that came up. Like I said, we didn't want to come here, cause chaos or anything. We just want to all work together, and if we can just be more transparent, and I hope I'm not missing. Oh, and counseling, which I think you guys had on there. Meetings for mixed grades to address bullying, expressing themselves, and helping to ensure that they feel safety. I think for both sides, if they can meet together and get like an understanding of what each other's feelings are, they may, you know, relax. I think that was it. Now I don't know what happened, so.
Okay. We did discuss SROs, and I believe we're going to have a change.
Well, we have two right now, and we'll have two up until the break. We've inquired, but, I mean, there's a limited number of the SROs in the Sheriff's Department as well, spread out across the county. So we've requested to have a second SRO after we return from break. We don't have an answer back yet, I don't believe.
Is there something that we can do? Do we need to write to somebody or call somebody to push the issue?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not
It's just-
it's a question of us requesting and.
Okay.
And availability,
Them
that's it.
having the availability.
Okay,
So no, don't worry.
okay,
We're very, very keen on security.
okay.
So.
Also, speaking of security, the bathrooms. The kids never would talk about things until this whole issue came up, and now I hear the bathrooms are one of the unsafest place to go. Bigger kids are being really mean to the littler kids in the bathroom. So I don't know if there's any possible way they could be monitored a little better. Like, kids are holding going to the bathroom because they're scared to go into the bathroom. So I didn't know any of this until the kids actually opened up. They just never talked about things,
Mhm.
so.
Well, we have our administrative team here that are going to take all of these items that you're saying,
Okay.
very seriously, as they always do. I just did want to make one comment that you mentioned this side and that side. There's no sides. We're all humans, and we all need to remain humane. So
Absolutely.
I just want to emphasize that, and it starts at home as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you have it, assembly, and we're focusing on, equal rights and everything, it needs to be the whole kids. It should just be to bullying. Like, not saying this person's prerogative over this prerogative, it's none of their business. It's, you need to be nice and expect. Regardless
Yeah.
of anything, right.
Yeah.
And I think that when we start explaining to children, their brain doesn't work like, even most adults aren't comprehending these things. They look at it as they're not as special, maybe. Just address the whole thing as, don't be rude and don't be nasty to other kids. Putting people's feelings out there and like, I don't know, they just did not feel comfortable after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Justine Scully. Sorry.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank the board and the administration for putting the survey out for parents, for the 5 to 11-year-olds for the vaccination clinic. It's so important for parents to have that freedom of choice for their children, especially with healthcare decisions. But after the survey was sent out, I became aware of multiple incidents. Some of these things are not on mainstream media, but they are out there, and there's misinformation everywhere, as we all know. So I thought it was really important to just bring this to light, and ask that when you do promote and push for a vaccination clinic, that especially if you're going to say one of the advantages of your child being vaccinated, if they're exposed to COVID-19, quarantine may not be required, my hope is that you would give both sides to the story for people to make a well-educated decision. So one of the stories is from Trial Site News, on December 4th, and it cites at least 4 children are reported to have died, 120 hospitalized by the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine in Vietnam after a group vaccination at school. It was reported in multiple Vietnamese media, including the VN Express, but no mainstream media. 17 of the 120 or so, the adolescents and teens, had severe reactions. Children experienced severe symptoms from nausea to high fever to difficulties breathing. And it was reported to the Central Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
Just to be clear, you're comparing the United States of America to a third world country and their protocols
So,
versus ours. So,
as I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think that it's important to listen to all of the sources, especially as it is reported, and consider it. It's the Pfizer vaccine. We also in this country have the Pfizer vaccine, and the Moderna, and the Johnson & Johnson. Now, in November, on the 12th, the New York Post cited that TED Pharmacy in Aldie, Virginia, gave 112 kids wrong doses of the COVID vaccine, okay? There's also multiple reports of increased injury and death among athletes across the world, and that was cited in GoodSciencing.com on yesterday, actually the 15th. And it reports, there's a chart that shows from January to yesterday of this year, 317 plus collapses and 178 plus dead. And if you want, you can look at the list of 300 plus athletes across the world. In my personal life, I could 100% tell you that I have a good friend whose family member, a 12-year-old, was diagnosed with myocarditis after the shot. There are other known acknowledged reactions to the Pfizer COVID vaccines, and that includes neurological, cardiac, gastrointestinal issues, debilitating health problems, and hospitalization. I just hope that, you know, after all that we've talked about, how much we all care about our kids. And we talked about the protocol for return to play that you have in place. I would hope that you would just consider that if something were to happen to one of our children as a result of the vaccination, who's going to be liable if that's here, okay? We already know that pharmaceutical companies are not liable for vaccine injury. So are we going to take that risk here? You know, there are plenty of sites around the county. We have our own personal doctors that can make those choices and then can discuss those things with. I just think it's really important to consider that liability. And that's what I just wanted to share with you. So I hope you consider that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Joe,
Yeah.
can I just clarify the
Yep,
the
go ahead.
quarantine thing? So just to clarify for everybody, the not being quarantined if they're vaccinated, that's a public health policy. So it's not our policy or promoting or not promoting vaccines. Just if a child is vaccinated and is exposed and is asymptomatic, then they won't need to be quarantined.
Okay, so
That's public health.
Yes, okay, that's fine, but when, that's actually stated on our Tri-Valley website, it says, Tri-Valley has been contacted by the Department of Public Health to explore the possibility of hosting a COVID-19 vaccination clinic for 5 to 11-year-olds. One of the advantages of your child being vaccinated is that if they are exposed to COVID-19, quarantine may not be required. And then if you ended at that, what I'm asking you to consider is when you make a statement like that, you should also make a statement for the cons as well. It needs to be well-rounded. I mean, I just don't think that's wise to put out there. You know, quarantine may not be required. You could say a lot of other things.
Okay, thank you.
You know, like, maybe you won't get so ill if you get the vaccination. There's other, I just don't agree that that was the best choice to promote the vaccination clinic. And again, but above and beyond that, that it's a well-rounded side. You have both sides of the fence and you're letting parents make a good, educated decision for the health of their children. Still, reading medical autonomy is so important that we need to be in that where they consider their whole life. So I just want you to consider that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justine. Next up, announcements, reminders. We kind of already did that. We don't have any upcoming events other than what the administrators mentioned. Sorry for skipping around. Next up, we have new business. We have a resolution to create 2 permanent substitute teachers for the 2021-22 school year. Be it resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, that the Board of Education creates the following positions for the 2021-2022 school year. Permanent substitute teachers, 2 positions at a rate of pay of $250 per day, benefits as per the TVTA bargaining agreement, and current New York State certification is required. Do I have a motion? Motion Keith, second Aaron. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have a resolution to create the position elementary teacher, certified teacher. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education creates the following position for the 2021-2022 school year. Elementary teacher, 1 position, allowing for a certified teacher as AIS provider. Do I have a motion? Motion Brent, second Aaron. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous, thank you. Next up, we have a memorandum of agreement between Tri-Valley Central School District and Tri-Valley Teachers Association. Be it resolved, the board approves the memorandum of agreement between TVCSD and the TVTA. Do I have a motion? Motion Rose, second Randy. Please proceed to vote. That was unanimous, thank you. We do not have any planned executive session for after the meeting. So I need a motion to adjourn. Motion Aaron, second Randy. We're adjourned at 7:57. Thank you. Have a happy holiday.